When most people think of high-end watch collecting, they picture a very specific lifestyle: private jets, tailored suits, and a watch that requires a five-figure wire transfer to acquire. The watch industry relies heavily on this aura of exclusivity. They point to centuries of rich European heritage and historic cobblestone streets and heavily restricted production runs to justify charging massive premiums. But a significant portion of that retail price is essentially a luxury tax. You're paying for the brand name, the massive marketing campaigns, and the historical heritage, rather than the physical components themselves. Strip away the branding and evaluate a watch purely on its bare metal, crystals, and gears, and high-quality mechanical watches become accessible at much lower price points. Authentic craftsmanship is available for under $200. Knowing exactly what to look for, how a case is finished, or how a movement operates, allows you to bypass the marketing hype. You avoid making expensive mistakes, and you can build a collection that earns the respect of veteran enthusiasts based entirely on technical merit. The human eye is incredibly good at detecting quality, and in watchmaking, that quality is defined by how metal interacts with light. Watches look expensive when they have physical depth and three-dimensional components that catch and reflect that light from different angles. Take the Orient Kamasu, which retails around $180. Instead of a flat printed surface, it uses applied indices. The manufacturer physically attaches each individual metal hour marker to the dial, and each one has its own raised lume plot. As light sweeps across that dial, it creates shadows and layered depth. Beyond the dial, there is a complex metallurgical technique known as mixed finishing. This is the sharp contrast you see when a manufacturer gives the top surface a brush texture, but polishes the adjacent chamfered edge to a mirror finish. Achieving that crisp transition requires strict tolerances, the exact execution Rolex and Omega charge thousands for. Yet you can find that exact same technique on a $200 San Martin. The brushing, the chamfer polish, and the overall metalwork are technically comparable to what you get on a $10,000 Rolex Submariner. Watch purists will often dismiss these budget alternatives on principle, labeling them as homages or copies. But if you isolate the physical metalwork and the manufacturing precision, the actual differences in the casing are incredibly difficult to spot. High-end case finishing is, at its core, a replicable mechanical process. Sharp bevels and polished transitions are a matter of machining capability, and that capability no longer belongs exclusively to a few select Swiss zip codes. How a watch reflects light is only part of the equation. The physical architecture, how the geometry of the metal wraps around the human wrist, determines how a watch feels. One of the most difficult structural designs to execute is the integrated bracelet. Instead of a separate case and strap held together by spring bars, the watch is designed as a single, continuous piece of metal. This requires perfect tolerances, so the connection points don't pinch or visually clash, which is why it is often marketed as a high-tier manufacturing achievement. The Citizen Tsuyosa, which goes on sale for under $200, executes this design language. It features a seamless case integration that smoothly tapers down to the clasp, utilizing mixed brushed and polished links to achieve a profile remarkably similar to icons like the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Alongside that architecture comes the importance of mathematical scale. A massive, oversized case often signals a cheaper fashion watch, while classic, restrained proportions are a hallmark of traditional luxury. The Seiko 5 SN XS79 costs around $100, but it hits the exact 36mm case size that Rolex made famous. On the wrist, it delivers the same visual weight and classic proportion as a $6,000 Oyster Perpetual. The engineering constraints that once made seamless metal bracelets and perfectly balanced case dimensions a rarity have been solved. That level of geometric elegance is simply no longer exclusive to the highest price brackets. While case finishing is external, the internal mechanical movement represents a different tier of engineering, one that has traditionally been difficult to replicate at scale. Exposing that internal heartbeat is a way for manufacturers to showcase mechanical complexity. The Orient Open Heart does exactly this for around $200, cutting a window straight through the dial so you can watch the balance wheel oscillating in real time. But the most striking example of mechanical democratization is the Suges chronograph heritage. It costs $189, yet it houses a specific mechanical complication that brands like Rolex and Zenith charge over $10,000 to provide. Inside that watch is a column wheel chronograph. Instead of a cheaper, stamped cam system, the start, stop, and reset functions are controlled by a specialized vertical column with interlocking teeth. It is difficult to machine, but it results in a smooth pusher action that standard cam systems cannot match. Swiss manufacturers have historically reserved this movement architecture for their flagship models. Suges provides that same mechanical functionality for under $200. You aren't getting the intricate, hand-engraved finishing on the bridges that a luxury Swiss house would apply, but the fundamental engineering, the layout of the gears, and the physical actuation of that column wheel are functionally identical. Having access to a column wheel at this price point removes the final hurdle. High-level mechanical complexity has successfully been decoupled from the luxury paywall. When you realize that the finishing, the proportions, and even the internal complications can be achieved at a fraction of the cost, the illusion breaks. The true value of a timepiece lies in its engineering, not the size of the brand's marketing budget. Look no further than Bill Gates. As one of the wealthiest people on the planet, he could easily purchase any Patek Philippe or Rolex in existence. Instead, he famously chooses to wear a $50 Casio Duro. That Casio features a marine-grade stainless steel case, a screw-down crown, and 200 meters of water resistance. It meets strict ISO dive watch requirements, delivering the same tool watch functionality as models costing thousands more. That is the mindset of a true collector. Validation doesn't come from using a logo to signal wealth or seeking societal approval. It comes from looking down at your wrist and understanding the actual mechanics and metalwork. Once you know how to identify applied indices, integrated bracelets, and column wheel movements, you bypass the gatekeepers entirely. You don't need a massive budget to put a technically sophisticated watch on your wrist today.